Yo, what's up, guys? I'm here today to give you a little bit of an overview on what Wildfrost is. I'll give you my thoughts on it and hopefully a few tips to help you succeed. I know the game's been out for only a short while, I think, but I've fallen in love with it. I think it's a really fun, really interesting game to play, and I see a lot of streamers struggling with it, so I figured, might hop in and give some of my advice having played it so far. So first off, what is Wildfrost? Wildfrost is a roguelike deck builder, and it's very much like Slay the Spire if you have played that before. But if not, it's basically you start off by choosing a character. Every character has a base deck of cards that they use, and you fight battles one at a time. And after each battle, and in between battles, you'll add cards to build your deck and make it stronger, give it buffs, etc., etc. So, what do I think about it? I think the pros, first of all, is that if you have played Slay the Spire before, it is a very great alternative to it. For roguelike deck builders in general, I think it definitely meets the standard. I think it's super interesting. I got the same level of enjoyment as Slay the Spire, and I really like the art style. So those are all pluses for me, and it's really refreshing to play as well. It gives a lot of new challenges. There's new gameplay, obviously a lot of new things to learn. So that makes it really fun. And with that comes with a greater variety of characters and combos that I haven't seen in other games. Obviously, my experience is kind of just with Slay the Spire, so mostly comparing it with that. But I think there's more variety in the gameplay. There's more thinking on your feet because of that too, and you get to customize each run more. So on the other side, what are the cons? I think the biggest thing for me is that the game is extremely difficult when you first get into it, and I can see how that will turn a lot of people away. And if you've seen the reviews on Steam, that's almost the entirety of the negative reviews. It's just that it's too hard, too complicated, not well balanced, etc., etc. Which is why I'm here to hopefully make it not so hard, essentially. But even me, for example, right? So I have 344 hours in Slay the Spire as of now, and for me, I didn't get until to the second boss until I spent 7 hours playing the game. So that was probably like, I want to say like 9 or 10 dead runs before I even made it to the second boss. Maybe more, honestly. And to give an update as to how I'm doing right now, now I'm 17 hours in the game, and I've made it past the second boss a good number of times, and I've actually beaten the final boss twice now. So that's really cool. I actually think I just beat it a third time, actually. I could be wrong, but yeah, so I think I've gotten a lot better at it. I've paid a lot of attention to what's happening. There's a lot of nuance, I think. So it's definitely a hard game to get into. And I will say on top of that, it does feel a little bit more RNG because Slay the Spire has 4 different characters that don't really have stats in the beginning. They all just kind of have their unique card set, and that doesn't change from run to run unless you pick a different character. Now, in Wildfrost, you start with a leader, and each leader has stats like health and attack. And if you just get bad leaders to choose from in the beginning of a run, your run can kind of be doomed. I'm not gonna lie. So there definitely is trial and error involved, and picking your leader matters a lot, obviously. Um, so overall, what do I think? For me, as I said, I've fallen in love with the game. I'm super addicted right now. I've had the game for like a week, and I have 17 hours in it. So for me, it's quite a considerable enough time. And overall, I think the pros just outweigh the cons. I kind of got tired of Slay the Spire a little bit, not gonna lie, and so having this new game is super refreshing. And I really enjoy strategy games, so it made this game 100% worth it. I think for me, part of the enjoyment is the difficulty and the challenge itself. But I will say, if you get frustrated at games easily, if you tilt a lot, then this might not be the game for you. And again, it's what the negative reviews will say. I'm just going to reiterate it. There you go. So I think that's the general overview I'll give of, what is Wild Frost. Alright, cool. So let's get into some gameplay. Hit the play button, hop in here, just click this shrine thing for our first big choice, our biggest choice, which is our leader, as I mentioned before. So I think I'll explain keywords as they come and go. So like kind of these icons, you can read what they mean if you've started the game already, obviously. But before that, to give the stats, you can skip over this part. You can fast forward it if you've already played the game. This is each character's attack, health, obviously. And the most important thing is this counter on the bottom. And that basically shows how many turns until the character attacks again. And I say that because that is another important choice in choosing a leader. How many, like, sure, one leader might have higher attack, but if they have a higher attack timer over time, they might do less. So as you can see here, straight off the bat, we have 3 people with all the same attack stat. 2 of them have 10 health, and they have counters of 5. So this icon right here is you reduce an enemy's attack when you attack. So that's reducing it by 3. This B icon right here is what I call it. Means that when you apply it to an enemy on your attack again, they take additional damage as it reads. Barrage is you hit all targets in a row when you attack, so that's also pretty good. For me, right now, I'm just going to choose this guy, and that's because attack timer matters so much to me. Like, I think having a lower attack timer makes playing the game feel so much nicer, and here we go. Let's do it. Another choice you have at the beginning is your starter companion. This is almost like your starter Pokemon. In the Pokemon games, with your leader, you'll always get a choice of companions. You unlock more as the game goes on, but I think the first thing you start with is Snoof. So let's just start with that. As you can see, it's 3 health, 3 attack, and it applies Snow on attack. There we go, Nib Scrap, as the name is. So right away, the first thing you do is you hop into a battle. I don't think the game even gives you an option to do anything else. So first thing you do, you drop your character smack dab in either one of the rows, it doesn't matter, and you're faced with enemies, essentially. And the key thing here is that the enemies and your turn timers will go down at the same time, but the enemies will always attack before you do. So if you're both at 3, that means that after 3 turns, the enemy will attack first, and then you'll attack them, basically. So every turn, you get to choose a card to play, and based on what you play, it'll do something differently, obviously. So what do we got here? We got an item that deals damage over here, and when you use it, it gains 1 attack. This ink icon means that you'll get rid of an enemy's effects, which is actually really useful. I'll explain it later down the line if it gets to that. But ink can be a really powerful effect, and this is for this character specifically. I don't think you actually unlock him until you don't unlock his class until later on in the game, but I think it's a pretty cool class. It's gnomes. I'm just gonna play Snoof first, I think. Yeah, let's just play Snoof first. So this guy is going to attack because his turn timer is going to go to 1, but he only deals 1 damage, so I'm not too worried. I think even in the beginning, a lot of people struggle with this first fight too, and it can be complicated to think about. So one other important thing I will note is that enemies attack from top to bottom and left to right. Likewise, your units also attack from top to bottom and right to left, I guess. So basically the attack order, let's say everybody was at 1. If these 3 guys were all attacking, this guy, Changoon, would attack first, then your Wild Snoof would attack second, and then Pengoon would attack last. And then after that, the turn order, your leader would attack, and then Snoof would attack, because top to bottom again. So what do I want to do here? So obviously one thing you can do is I can just use this to kill this right away. It saves me 1 damage, but I think overall for this battle, the 1 damage doesn't really matter. What is important though is I don't want to get snowed, because having my turn timer delayed, as I said, it matters a lot, and it can make a big difference because it obviously means that I'm doing less damage too. So another thing too I will say is how you order your characters matters. The biggest thing I ran into in the beginning was not understanding how to order my characters. Why does it matter? It matters because it affects who gets hit first, who gets hit at all, and some cards will have effects that apply to the first person it hits. Others will apply to the last person it hits. So that's the most important thing. I've lost a lot of runs to not ordering my characters properly and having one of them die for stupid reasons. So in this instance, before I do anything, I'm going to let Penguin attack this guy because he has higher health. So let's let him take a shot instead of the 3 health guy. And while I do that, let's also do this. So I'm going to increase his attack by 1. I reduce his countdown by 1, which is really strong. Cards that reduce countdowns are always super strong. And this recycle keyword is unique to gnomes, the gnome class. It basically just means you need to have junk in your hand to play it, and it destroys the junk, as you can see. So really good combo. I'm lucky that I got the junk and this card in my starting hand to begin with. Super powerful. So I said what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise this guy's attack. I'm going to reduce his thing to 1. That's going to mean he has 4 attacks, so he one-shots this guy. Super, super nice. So he attacks, and I attack. Boom, dead. Cool. Moving on. This guy's going to attack, but he only hits for 1 damage, so again, not too scared. Definitely not going to attack him because it increases his damage. Let's see. Honestly, I'll just freeze him. So you won't attack this turn. Yeah, that's right. Screw you. And now I'll kill this guy to save me from that 1 damage. And you'll see this bell over here just lit up. This bell, as you've probably seen, lets you draw new cards, basically. So you don't draw new cards at the end of your turn in Slay the Spire. Like in Slay the Spire, sorry. Instead, you choose when to draw cards. And when you have it light up, that means you get to redraw for free. And it won't end your turn, which is super important, I think. One thing that really matters in this game is tempo. And you really have to have more tempo than the enemies in order to win the game. So in general, if you're redrawing, I would say that you want to redraw when it's free and when it's free alone. So this turn, I'm going to attack for 4. This is going to kill this guy. I'm going to redraw because I don't need to play this card. Let's see what I can do. So as you can see, I wasn't as lucky this time. I did not get my junk in this hand with this, so I'm actually not able to play it, which is unlucky. But I will play this guy. He's just a bot, basically, and when it says trash 1 when hit, it just means add junk to my hand, so I actually get junk later. Boom. So you'll see that there's a timer for when the enemies come out, and when it gets to 0, obviously the enemies come out. But one important thing to note too is that if it doesn't reach 0 and you kill your enemies like I just did, the enemies will just straight up come out. So like if this has 5 and I kill them both this turn, the next wave of enemies will just straight up come out. And it actually matters a lot. It makes the game a lot harder, I'm not gonna lie, because of that, because you can't prep for the next wave. So you actually have to time your attacks properly in order to match the next wave of enemies. But that's not our issue right now. Let me see. So this guy's about to attack. I'll make him attack here because I care more about this. Another unique enemy is the Goblin. You'll see that he appears in random fights all over the place. As you can see, obviously it says when he is attacked, he drops 4 bling, which is money. And I will say bling is also very important. That being said, 4 bling is like nothing. I'm not gonna lie. I found that 4 bling is really nothing. You really only get value when you hit him 3 times basically for 12, and then you probably see a slight difference. But he only stays in the battle for 4 turns unless he gets frosted or whatever. And so yeah, so I would say in general, hitting the goblin is profitable, but you only want to do it when you know for sure you can win the battle. So I would say maybe in the beginning, when you're learning the game, don't do it, because if you lose the battle, it's not going to matter, obviously. So for me, I'm pretty confident, actually, that I will win, so I'm actually just going to hit it right now with a Gear Hammer. This guy will hit this, freeze it up. As you can see, it snows for 1 turn. And then I'm literally just gonna do that again, because I can. And I'm gonna do it again, actually. So there's 3 hits, there's 12 bling in my pocket. It really feels insignificant, I'm not gonna lie. But you'll see the prices of the cards if we get to a shop. So there's that. Actually, I might make that another video. I don't know how long this is going to go. It's already pretty long, I'm not going to lie. But hopefully it gives you a good idea. So I also failed to explain this bar right here, this little spiky thing. It's Frenzy, as you can see. When it attacks, it'll attack this many times. So it'll attack 3 times for this guy. Not 4, 3. This guy attacks me before I attack it, which is actually low-key problematic. So I'm going to redraw. In the hopes of, yeah, so I just want to draw another Gear Hammer here so I can just kill it straight up. Boom. Easy. Now, unfortunately, as you can see, you have to time it well, as I said, because Snoof just attacked nobody, and his timer reset, which is just kind of annoying. Now, these guys come out. This it looks like a boss, but this is actually just like a battle boss. If that makes sense. So you'll fight different battles. At the end of each battle is like a mini boss that looks like this, and the music will turn into what you are listening now. So let's see. So this is where I said his ability is actually really OP, because as you can see, he summons all these dudes. He gains 1 attack when one of them is killed. So that's really strong. So the first thing I want to do is I actually want to ink this guy, so that way it cancels out his effect. And it makes this fight pretty free, I'm not gonna lie. Again, it kind of sucks for you guys because you won't have this character unlocked probably yet. If you do, that's good for you. But yeah, it's kind of problematic. So what are we saying here? So this is where Junkhead comes into play. You'll see that he has Scrap, and it's called a different kind of health. Basically, so I know all of these guys only have 1 attack. But let's say they had 10 attack, right? On 1 hit, this still only goes down by 1. It's not like if he had 10 attack, he would one-shot my hero. But this basically means that he's immune to 3 hits, pretty much. And it actually doesn't matter if the attack is 0, I'm pretty sure. Even if the attack is 0, if he gets swung at, this still goes down, actually. I'm quite certain. Could be wrong, but because of that, as you saw, I just moved him forward, so that's part of the order. When you move him forward, that means that's the guy who's going to get hit unless there's a keyword that says otherwise. Now, another big thing is that enemies can only attack in their same row unless there's nobody in that row. So I actually really don't want Snoof to get hit here, so I'm going to move him down, and that way everybody hits the Junkhead, and he's gonna die, but I really don't care. Like, genuinely don't care. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna Gear Hammer any one of these people and kill it. Boom, boom. As you can see, you get junk when hit. Boom, don't care. Boom, kill that other guy. Snoof's gonna attack next turn. Pretty cool. He kills another guy. I'm going to use this, reduce his attack by, increase his attack by 1, reduce his turn timer by 1. I will say, like, literally, any sun whatever things, I think it has a different name for other classes. any card that reduces countdown by 1, I basically always play. I always play it super early too, if possible, just because again it gives tempo, and that's the most important thing in this game, I think. As well as I guess comboing your cards in your deck, but beside the point. So this guy will attack first, then this guy, because enemies attack first, and then my guy will hit. So let's actually kill this guy so he doesn't hit me. Boom, and I hit him for 5, which is really fucking OP. Sorry, swear. I don't know if that matters, but this turn I'm gonna apply 4 snow to him, which is also pretty OP. I don't know if you noticed, but originally this card said 2 snow. Critical, you can read it. It doubles the effects if it's the rightmost card in your hand, which is pretty unique as an effect, and it's quite interesting. It encourages you to play certain cards. But yeah, here we go. So now this is quite literally a free win. So it doesn't matter what I do because this guy attacks. Because he has this bumblebee thing on him, he takes additional damage, which means he'll take 1 additional damage with this 1 count, and it'll be 4. So why I didn't have to do that. I'm just gonna ink him again just so you see that it does indeed do 4, and boom, he died. It did 5 actually. I don't know why I did 5. I thought it only did +1, but you know, sure, why not? So I think that's the first battle. Hopefully you came away with at least beginning thought of this game. I don't know how to say that. Sorry, I hope I gave you a first impression of the game. That's how English works. And I'll get more into it next time. I think most important takeaway actually that I will say, I'm sorry I'm saying this at the end of the video, but if you've stuck around, the most important thing is take your turns slow. Especially if, I don't know how it works in other games, but in Slay the Spire, there's an end turn button. There's no end turn button in this game. You have to move your heroes around, you have to prep everything before you play your card. Before you play any card, you have to do that, otherwise your turn immediately ends and everything resolves, and there's no going back. So if you accidentally forget to move your hero behind another character who can tank for you, your hero's just going to die because you forgot to move him and you didn't pay enough attention to detail. So that is the most important thing I will say today. Take your time. Don't forget that your turn ends right after you play the card. You can't do anything else after that.